Welcome to the Workers' Reading Room. Tonight I'll be reading Chapter 13 of F.I.S.T. by Joe Eszterhas, but first a quick recap. The previous chapter begins in the aftermath of the broken strike, with the injured men and women being treated by the doctor, while Johnny is enraged over Mike's death. During Mike's funeral, violence breaks out when the police are attacked by company infiltrators embedded in the procession. After shots ring out, Johnny and Abe chase down the gunman, a company thug that they have encountered before. During the struggle, Johnny kills the man and discovers afterwards that the gun was loaded with blanks. The whole thing was a setup. Realizing that without muscle they have no hope of winning, Johnny meets with Vince Doyle and convinces him to help. At the next union meeting, Johnny outs Mark Rafferty, who had intentions of selling the men out to the company, and Johnny informs the men that they will fight with everything they have, just like Mike did. The chapter ends with the union men preparing themselves for the fight ahead. With a new headquarters, new plan, and Vince's muscle behind them, they are ready to face the company with force. And now, F.I.S.T. Chapter 13. Alex Papp was a rosy-cheeked, white-haired old man with a crippled left foot whose pharmacy was the largest in the flats. He stood behind his counter in his white coat, with the Red Cross insignia over his heart. He looked at Anna and Molly. "I can't give you nothing, honey," he said. "Honest, you know how it is." "But it's for the union," Anna said. "For the Federation, in case the police—" I know. Look, you don't have to tell me. Those people that were killed, they were my customers. They owed me money." "Can't you just give us a little gauze, maybe?" Anna said. "I can't, honey. I just can't. I'd like to. I got hundreds of dollars out. People that can't pay. Nobody can pay. I know that. But I can't afford to give nothing more." "A couple of bottles of iodine, that's all," Molly said. "I'm sorry. Believe me, I'm sorry." When Johnny walked into the pharmacy just before closing that night, Alex Papp greeted him happily. "Johnny, what can I do for you?" He glanced at the four men with him, Doyle, Jocko, and two younger men with bulging suit coats. "I'll tell you, Mr. Papp," Johnny said. "I'm here for the Federation." "I know, Johnny, I know. Those girls were here." "We're asking for contributions, Mr. Papp." "I told them, Johnny, I can't give nothing. Everybody wants, nobody pays." Johnny nodded. He paused. "This is my friend Vince Doyle, Mr. Papp." Doyle smiled at the pharmacist and knocked a row of bottles on the counter to the ground. "Here," the pharmacist said. "What are you doing? You knocked them down. What the hell?" He hurried over to the broken bottles. "An accident, Mr. Papp," Vince Doyle smiled. The pharmacist got down on the floor and nervously started cleaning up the mess. "Accident? What the hell kind of accident was—" "And this is my friend Jocko," Doyle said. Jocko smashed a display case. The pharmacist looked up from the floor open-mouthed. He was speechless. Doyle smiled. "And this is Jocko's friend Al." "Stop it!" the pharmacist yelled. He got up from the floor and looked at Johnny. "All right, take what you want." "That's real nice of you, Mr. Papp," Vince Doyle smiled. Winthrop Talbot paced the floor of his office. St. Clair and Philip Talbot squirmed uncomfortably in their chairs, waiting for his response. "I don't believe it," Winthrop Talbot finally said. "My friends assure me that their information is correct," St. Clair said. "They can't close down the entire trucking industry of this city." "Nevertheless, Win." "They can't possibly have the organization." "They have help, Dad," Philip Talbot said. "They can't possibly have the organization." "They have some unsavory elements working with them," St. Clair said. Winthrop Talbot turned from them and looked out his window. More important, Dad, they have the support of the whole community down there. Bootleggers, petty hoodlums, St. Clair said. They have dock workers, steel workers, hundreds of volunteers. You're underestimating him, Dad. Winthrop Talbot glanced sharply at his son. Let me talk to him, Dad. You want to talk to Kovac? Winthrop Talbot smiled. Maybe we can put an end to this somehow. By giving them what they want? We're going to have to live with them, Philip Talbot said. With Kovac? With all these unions. Nonsense. All we have to do is negotiate. No, Winthrop Talbot said. We will not negotiate. He sat down behind his desk and examined some papers. Let me see those June accounts you promised, he said to his son. You're making a mistake, Dad, Philip Talbot said quietly. Am I? Yes, I think you are. These accounts are overdue, Winthrop Talbot said. Johnny stood in his shirt sleeves in the middle of the warehouse, the sweat sopping his shirt. With him were Ed Noonan of the steelworkers, Petey Marr of the dock workers, and Abe. They were surrounded by reporters shouting their questions. You got communists helping you, Kovac? You a citizen, Kovac? All right, you guys gonna shut up? Abe yelled. If you don't shut up, I'm gonna kick your asses out of here. The reporters quieted down grumblingly. We're going out tomorrow morning, Johnny said quietly. That's the announcement I got to make. We're gonna shut Consolidated down. We're setting up lines at Endicott, Weston, and Collette Trucking. How do you think you're gonna make a general truck strike stick, Kovac? You go out tomorrow morning, Johnny said quietly. You see how it's gonna stick. You got communists working with you, Kovac? I got communists, Catholics, Protestants, Jews, Micks, Spics, Guineas, Polacks, and every goddamn hunky in this city. What if the police... Johnny put his arm around Noonan and Petey Marr. We got the steel workers with us, and we got Petey Marr's dock workers, and we got all the people who believe working stiffs got a right to be human beings. What if the police try to stop you, Kovac? Anybody, whatever he is, whatever he speaks, whatever he looks like, wants to help us, come on out to the picket lines tomorrow. But what if the police try to stop you? Johnny paused. We got a right to go on strike, he said quietly. We don't got nothing against the cops. But what if they try, Kovac? They won't stop us, he said quietly. That's all I got to say. He turned from the reporters and started walking away. Are you a citizen, Kovac? He turned back angrily. Yeah, I'm a citizen, he said, his voice hard. Are you? He glanced at the man and poked him in the chest. And it's Mr. Kovac to you, pal. Petey Marr pulled him away. The reporters tried to crowd after him, but Abe blocked their way. Sweating and exhausted, Anna walked out of the Five and Dime, heard the horn, and walked over to the car, smiling. Hey, lady, Johnny grinned. You want a surprise? What you got in mind, mister? You know what I got in mind, he laughed. No thanks, mister. She started to walk away. Hey, Anna, look. She looked back and saw him holding a bottle of Coca-Cola high in the air. Straight from the icebox, Anna. She reached for it. He jerked it back. First, we gotta go for a ride. She looked at him in mock alarm. Nice and cold, Anna. Anything you want, mister. She laughed and got into the car. They sat at sunset on a clustered industrial beachfront on Lake Erie. Old tires littered the ground. A hollowed-out icebox was near them. I brought you something, he said. He handed her the imitation diamond ring he won at the Penny Arcade. She looked at it. Put it on. She put it on and smiled. How does it fit? Fits okay. She looked at him. What does it mean, Johnny? What do you mean? He grinned. It means I like you." "Do you?" She smiled. "Maybe I'll give you a real one sometime." She laughed. "When?" "Jesus," he said. "I don't know, Anna. What kind of question?" She laughed, looked at the ring. "Johnny," she said softly, "I'm gonna be there tomorrow." "Anna, I told you, I don't want you there. There's gonna be trouble. The cops." "I'm gonna be there," she said, her voice firm. They looked at each other. "Hold me, Johnny?" He put his arm around her and kissed her. Bill Rogers was a scab. He had been driving for Consolidated for more than 2 weeks now, and as he drove down Lorraine Avenue this morning on his way to the Consolidated terminal in the Flats, Bill Rogers was a happy man. Today was payday. He would get his first check. Ahead of him, at the side of the road near a telephone booth, a freckle-faced teenager on a bicycle waved to him and grinned. Bill Rogers looked at the kid, tooted his horn at him, and stepped on the gas. The faster he got there, the sooner there would be money in his pocket. The freckle-faced kid watched the truck barrel down Lorraine, walked into the phone booth, and laughed. He was making $5 a day just watching trucks and making phone calls. It must be the easiest job in the world. He dialed the number and said, his voice excited and high, "This is Sinchik." Nah, Sinchik. "Yeah, that's me. 41st and Lorraine. A Consolidated truck just passed me." He laughed. "Yeah, the asshole's alone." In a little room at the F.I.S.T warehouse, Jocko said, "Okay, kid, go ride your bike." He hung up and looked at the men crowded in the room. Numbers runners, former bootleggers, small-time hold-up men, all of them armed. He had personally selected all of them. They were making $50 for their services this day, but they were really here because Vince passed the word that he needed a favor. "Al, Lefty, you, Lard," Jocko said, pointing to 3 of the men. 41st and Lorraine, Consolidated. Truck just went through there. The guy's alone." The men started for the door. "I'm hungry," the fat man named Lard said. "I didn't eat no breakfast." "You don't need no fucking breakfast," Jocko snarled. "Now get the hell out of here." The phone rang again. Jocko picked it up and listened. "Jesus Christ," he yelled into the receiver. "Slow down, will you, snot-nose? I can't hear a word you're saying." 2 blocks from the F.I.S.T warehouse at the Consolidated terminal, a row of shotgunned guards stood behind the fence. Scab trucks were being loaded on the docks. Across the street from the Consolidated terminal, a group of women gathered in a circle on the sidewalk. Anna and Molly handed them little bags of paprika. "Don't waste none of it," Anna said. "A little bit of paprika goes a long way." She held one of the bags up. "Open it like this and throw it in his face, and don't get none in yours," she smiled. "It stings." The women laughed. 2 trucks filled with strikers pulled up to the Consolidated gate. Men piled off it with picket signs. All of them were wearing hats with cardboard tucked into their bands. They were led by a man wearing a suit and a fedora, Ted Lettieri, who had spent 4 years at the Ohio Penitentiary for assault with a deadly weapon, once employed as one of Vince Doyle's rum runners. As the men herded around the Consolidated fence, a guard on the other side of the fence moved toward them with a shotgun. Ted Lettieri went to the guard, shifted his coat, and let him see the gun in his shoulder holster. Ted Lettieri grinned. "Pretty, ain't she?" he said. The guard stared at him and walked away. Down the street from Consolidated, Mishka stood with a group of his friends from Ziggy's Tavern. Jugovich, the behemoth arm wrestler, was there, as well as Ziggy's cook, a pint-sized bantam rooster of a man who was dressed in his Sunday suit. Mishka held a 6-quart basket of eggs and started handing them to the men. Jugovich smiled. "We ought to eat these," he said. Mishka cracked an egg and held it under his friend's nose. Jugovich cringed from the smell. "You ain't that hungry," Mishka said. As Bill Rogers drove his truck down West 25th Street, he saw a car blocking the road ahead of him. A man was lying in the street next to it. Two other men stood over him, one of them very fat. Bill Rogers stopped the truck and leaned out his window and yelled, "What's the matter?" The fat man came to the truck. "Nothing," Lard said. He smiled. "He's okay. You ain't." He pulled a gun from his hip and pointed it at him. Bill Rogers was forced, at gunpoint, to drive his truck into an alley where the truck's tires were slashed. He was ordered to take his shoes and socks off. "Nice day for a walk," Lard said. "God damn you bastards," Bill Rogers said. "Listen," Lard said, holding his gun up. "You want to suck on this?" Inside the consolidated yard, the scab trucks had been loaded and were moving slowly toward the gate, which the strikers blocked. The strikers yelled and smashed the fence with their fists. Ted Lettieri watched them calmly, a slight smile on his face. In an upstairs room at the F.I.S.T warehouse, Abe was on the telephone. Johnny stood next to him. "What's he saying?" Johnny said impatiently. "They're loading the scabs up," Abe said. "Okay, that's it. Let's go." They ran from the room down the stairs onto the main floor of the warehouse. There were 100 men sitting there holding hats and long rubber hoses, all of them wearing hats with cardboard stuffed into them. "All right," Johnny yelled. "Let's go." The men burst out of the warehouse doors into the street, led by Johnny and Abe, holding their hats. They were a small army on a wild run through the sunlit streets of the flats. At the end of the street by the consolidated terminal, a line of uniformed guards carrying shotguns formed, the 4 armored trucks behind them. They started moving toward the strikers blocking the gate. At the same time, a truck roared into the street in front of the consolidated gate and strikebreakers leaped from it carrying baseball bats. The strikers removed pieces of leaded garden hose and clubs of various sizes from their clothing. Ted Lettieri took his gun out. The strikebreakers hesitated, stunned that the strikers were armed. "Let's get 'em!" Ted Lettieri shouted, and the strikers charged the strikebreakers. From across the street, the women ran toward the fray, the little paper bags in their hands. Anna saw one of the strikebreakers fighting with a striker. She went up to the man and hurled a paprika in his face. The man screamed in pain. The uniformed guards walked in phalanx toward the action, the armored trucks behind them. From the sidewalk, Mishka and his friends peppered them with the rotten eggs. The guards cringed from the stink and stepped back in disarray. Beaten and outnumbered, the strikebreakers fled from the strikers toward an alley. As they ran for it, Johnny, Abe, and their men burst from the alley toward them. The armored trucks pulled around the phalanx of uniformed guards in front of them and headed for the strikers. As they did, a dapper little man darted from the sidewalk. He was Louis Tomasini, expert safecracker, a man Vince Doyle had especially recruited from Detroit for this day. Louis Tomasini threw a stick of dynamite at the armored truck. The truck exploded. The men inside screamed. Abe saw the explosion and ran to the burning truck. One of the uniformed guards fired his shotgun at Tomasini. Tomasini went down. Abe stood over the dapper little man, blood covered and dying in the street. On a tenement roof across the street, Vince Doyle watched the explosion, watched as the guard fired his shotgun. He turned to the man beside him. The man had a rifle in his hands. "Get him," Vince Doyle said. The man fired a shot from the roof and hit the guard who fired at Tomasini. The guard went down. The other uniformed guards looked around. "Shoot around him," Vince Doyle said on the rooftop. The rifleman pulled the trigger again. The shots hit the street around the uniformed guards, who ran towards the back of the consolidated terminal. The armored trucks turned wildly in the street and raced away. Abe looked up at the roof. Police wagons arrived. The policemen got off and started marching for the battling group, clubs in hand. An open truck suddenly tore from behind into the midst of the marching policemen, who desperately leaped out of the way. Tom Higgins was driving it. Strikers leaped from the back of the truck between the policemen. One of the policemen drew his gun. "Hold your fire!" a police captain yelled. You'll hit each other." Seeing that they couldn't use their guns, many of the policemen ran down the street. Jugovich cornered a policeman against the consolidated fence. He kept hitting the policeman, picking him up, hitting him again. "Get up, you," Jugovich shouted, hitting him again. "Fight!" Still driving the truck, Higgins rammed the fence with it. The guards inside the consolidated yard ran for the building as dozens of strikers shouldered the fence, trying to knock it down each time Higgins rammed into it. Higgins kept putting the truck into reverse and then ramming the fence. Abe watched the armored truck burn. Near him, the body of the slain uniformed guard was trampled in the street. He could hear Higgins' truck scream as Higgins shifted gears. Abe stood there, dazed, almost in shock. A policeman swung a club at him and knocked him down. Johnny ran to him and knocked the policeman down with a piece of hose. He lifted Abe up. "Abe, you all right?" Abe stood glassy-eyed and didn't look at him. "You all right?" "We gotta stop it, Johnny," Abe said, his voice choked. "We gotta stop it." One of the guards inside the fence fired at Higgins' truck. The shot blew away a part of the windshield. Ted Lettieri aimed his revolver and fired. The guard went down. Higgins' truck smashed the fence down. Dozens of men trampled over it into the consolidated yard. They smashed the windows of the scab trucks and started setting the trucks on fire. They headed for the consolidated building and started throwing rocks at it. Windows broke. On the third floor of the consolidated terminal, Winthrop Talbot stood at a window with his son Philip and Arthur St. Clair, watching the scene below him. His trucks were on fire. His windows were being broken. There were hundreds of men swarming over his yard. "Let's get out of here," Philip Talbot said. "The police," Winthrop Talbot said. "What happened to the police?" In the yard, one of the trucks exploded. "For God's sake, Dad," Philip Talbot said. He and St. Clair moved Winthrop Talbot from the window and hustled him down the stairs to a car at a rear exit. Abe stood in the yard, dazed. The trucks were burning. Clusters of men threw rocks at the building. Others were trying to batter the door down. Higgins' truck circled the yard. Johnny stood on top of it, yelling, "We're going back. Put the rocks down. We're going back. Everybody go back." Some of the men continued throwing the rocks, but many turned and ran from the yard, brushing by Abe, who just stood there, staring. Johnny saw Abe from the truck. Their eyes met. "Abe, come on." Abe hesitated, then leaped up on the truck next to Johnny. "We won," Johnny said. "We beat 'em." Abe looked at the burning trucks, the trampled fence, the smoke, the bloodied bodies on the ground. "Did we, Johnny?" Johnny didn't hear him. "We're going back," he yelled to the men in the yard. "Everybody, go back. We won. We won." Photographers crowded around the conference room table. Winthrop Talbot got on one side of it, his son and St. Clair at his side. Johnny sat on the other, Abe, Higgins, and Vince Doyle beside him. Flashbulbs popped as Johnny signed the paper and passed it across to Winthrop Talbot. "Insurance, overtime, pay hike," Johnny said. "It's all there." He paused, then grinned. "Gentlemen." Winthrop Talbot took the paper and looked at it. There was funereal silence in the room. "You gentlemen want to discuss something more?" Johnny said. St. Clair handed Winthrop Talbot a fountain pen. Talbot took the pen, hesitated, then quickly signed the paper. His expression was one of absolute defeat. "You wanted the men to be happy," Johnny said. "That's what you said. We're happy." He grinned, paused. "Real happy, Win." Talbot looked at him and got up from the table. Johnny got up, grinned, and stuck his hand out over the table. Talbot looked at his hand and moved away from it. Johnny kept his hand out over the table and watched Winthrop Talbot walking away from him. Philip Talbot shook his outstretched hand. "I hope we can work together better in the future, Mr. Kovac," Philip Talbot said. "We're going to work together real good, Phil. Don't you worry." Johnny smiled and winked at him. The convention hall in Flint was a seedy old auditorium filled with raw-boned, simply dressed men puffing on their stogies. F.I.S.T. banners hung from the rafters. The walls were plastered with signs which said, "Re-elect Rafferty" and "Go with Graham." Johnny, Abe, and Vince Doyle were surrounded by a cluster of men. "Where are you from?" Johnny said to one of them. "Flatbush." "Where the hell's that? Place I come from's called the Flats." "Brooklyn." "Yeah? New York City, huh?" He grinned. "Well, how come you guys from New York City can't get what we got in Cleveland?" "That's 'cause we ain't got you there with us, Johnny," a man said. "So you want me to tell you how to do it?" "Sure, you tell us, Johnny," a man laughed. "Okay. You look 'em in the eye, see? And then you kick 'em in the jewels, and then you wink." The men laughed. "How come you wink?" one of the men asked. "To take their minds off of how much it hurts." As the men roared, a nervous, effeminate radio announcer moved into the middle of their group, a microphone in his hand. "The man here in Flint who might influence this convention the most," the announcer said, "is Johnny Kovac, the new president of Cleveland's Local 302. Mr. Kovac, many of the delegates here are wondering, are you supporting Matt Rafferty or Max Graham for the presidency of the union?" "I'm no politician," Johnny grinned. "There are rumors of bad feelings between you and Rafferty." The announcer stuck his microphone into Johnny's face. "Horseshit," Johnny said. The announcer pointed excitedly to his microphone. "We're on the air." "There's no other word for it. Horseshit." "Thank you, Mr. Kovac," the announcer said, trying to get away. Johnny snatched the microphone from him. "I got a lot of respect for Matt Rafferty. He's been running this union an awful long time. It's still here, right?" He laughed. The hotel room was airless and run down. Vince Doyle was stretched out on the bed, a cigar in his mouth. Abe sat in a chair. Johnny sat on the floor, leaning against the wall. "What do we need it for, Johnny?" Abe said. "Don't make any deals." "If we could get this," Johnny said. "Illinois, Michigan, all those big states." "All Graham has to do is make a little trade," Vince Doyle said. "Think of what we could do for every guy in the Midwest, Abe. All the stuff we got at Consolidated." "But you don't even know if he's going to go for it," Abe said. Johnny laughed. "After what I said to that radio guy about Rafferty? Are you kidding?" Max Graham opened the door. He was a middle-aged, dandified man who wore a blue velvet robe. His manner was hearty and effusive, his eyes gray and cold. "Johnny, good of you to come. Max, how you doing?" Johnny looked rumpled. His suit coat was draped over his shoulders. His tie was loose. He was sweating. "Come in, Johnny. Come in." Johnny looked around the lush, spacious suite. "The dump we're in," Johnny said. "You ought to see the roaches. You ain't got no roaches in here, huh?" He grinned. Graham went to the bar. "Bourbon, scotch, whatever you'd like." "Give me a shot and a beer." "I asked you to come up," Graham said, "'cause I thought it was time we met. What you did in Cleveland, Johnny. Some victory." Graham handed him a glass of beer and a shot glass of whiskey. Johnny dumped the shot in his beer glass. Graham, drinking whiskey and soda, watched him. "You asked me to come up 'cause you're running neck and neck with Rafferty," Johnny said. Graham lifted his glass and smiled. "Here's to you, Johnny." Johnny drained his glass. "I heard you talking about your friend Rafferty on the radio," Graham said. Johnny smiled at him. "Relax. You got my support, Max." "Just like that, huh?" "You got it won, Max." They grinned at each other. "What do you want, Kovac?" Graham said, his voice hard. "The Midwest." "The Midwest Council?" Graham laughed. "What the hell do you want that for? It's just a title." "It is now," Johnny said. "But who says it's gotta be? Who says we can't organize the whole thing, the whole region, the way we did in Cleveland?" Graham paused. He thought about it. Is that all you want? Johnny grinned. Stay out of my way, Max. I'll stay out of yours. They looked at each other coldly. Graham lifted his glass. Here's to us, Johnny. The final night of the convention, Max Graham, the new national president of the Federation of Interstate Truckers, stood on the stage of the Flint Convention Hall, his arms raised victoriously as the delegates cheered. He waved to Rafferty, then to Johnny, and the three of them linked their arms, raised them high, and smiled. The men roared their approval. I thought he was going to jump off the goddamn stage instead of holding my hand, Johnny laughed the next day as the train took them back to Cleveland. Matt Rafferty and me, holding hands. Abe and Vince Doyle laughed. I'll see you guys later, Abe said. I'm going to go take a nap. He walked out of the dining car. Vince Doyle looked disdainfully after him. He's okay, Johnny said. Doyle didn't say anything. He sipped a beer. The president of the Midwest Council, Doyle laughed. You're getting up there in the world, Johnny. Johnny smiled. Stick with me, Vince. Doyle laughed. I mean it. I couldn't have done none of this without you. What about the club? Doyle grinned. The interests I got. I don't know, Johnny said. Let Jocko run it for you. Keep your hand in. I don't care. Stick with me. You got a nice big job. Legit. A union man, Johnny? Me? Listen, the sky's the limit with this thing, Vince. Graham? Jesus, he's an asshole. Those guys at the convention? They loved me. Doyle laughed. Now it's me that's going to work for you? We'll do it together, Vince. We got the whole Midwest to work with. We got all that territory. Just look at it, Vince Doyle laughed as the train passed a farm field. Look at it, Johnny. All I see is a bunch of cows. No, listen, Johnny said, his voice loud and excited. I mean it. When those guys see what I can get 'em, hell, Vince. Doyle laughed. The room at Local 302's warehouse, the union's new Midwestern headquarters, was only partially completed. A map of the Midwest had been taped to the wall. Johnny stood by the map. Vince Doyle, Abe, and Tom Higgins were around him. None of these locals, Johnny said, pointing to the map. Wherever they are, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, they're getting nothing. They ain't got the push. What we gotta do is bring 'em all together. Get every goddamn driver here in all these Midwest states to sign up. No exceptions. Everybody. We do that, the companies are gonna give us what we want. We'll never do it, Abe said. A lot of guys don't want to sign up. What if the companies they're working for sign 'em up? Johnny said. They can't do nothing about it then. What do you mean? Higgins said. We tell the companies they drive for, you want to get along with us? You sign all your men up to us. That way they join automatically. Abe thought about it. So what if they sign the guys up and the guys don't pay their dues? That means they're not really in the union. Yeah, but what if the companies make sure they pay the dues? What are you talking about? Higgins said. They take the dues out of the driver's pay. They pay us all the guys' dues in one lump each month. A check-off, you mean? Abe said. It's not fair to the guys. Sure it is, Johnny said. It's easier for 'em. They don't have to worry about coming in to pay it. What if the companies won't do it? Higgins asked. They'll do it, Vince Doyle said. That way we can really do good for the guys, Johnny said. The locals don't negotiate with the companies no more. Like the strike that local's going on against the paper company in West Virginia. We'll negotiate for 'em. But it's their strike, Johnny, Abe said. Are you kidding? They're all in the Midwest Council, right? Every strike is our strike. We tell the locals if they can go out or not. We say they go out, then we work a deal out for 'em. You gonna go over all these states signing everybody up? Abe said. We'll send our guys out to each state, business agents. They get a cut on each guy they sign up, each company. What business agents? Abe said. Well, Some of the guys we had helping us here, they got friends in Detroit, Chicago, right, Vince? Sure, easy. We'll give 'em a good cut, Johnny said. Make it a business proposition for 'em. Johnny, Abe said, you're gonna muscle guys to join up? If we gotta muscle a few guys, it's for their own good. Federation of Interstate Truckers, Local 123, Parkersburg, West Virginia, said the banner on the wall of the cluttered storefront office. Johnny and Abe are talking to three men in workers' caps. Listen, Johnny said angrily. I didn't ride 6 hours down here in the fucking rain to listen to a lot of guff. I say you go for the insurance and the overtime. Forget the pay raises on the contract. For your own good. You say, one of the men said. I run this local. You're all in the Midwest Council, ain't you? You want to stay in this fucking union? You do what I tell you. What are you gonna do? Throw us out, Kovac? On your ass. No strike benefits. No compensation. You want to try me? The men looked at each other. One of them got up angrily. Hey, come on, Abe said. This way we can really do good for you guys. The companies can't screw little locals like yours no more. They gotta deal with all of us, together. The whole council, Johnny said. Come on, listen to me. We're all on the same side. I know what the hell I'm doing. The next day in Parkersburg, they met with the company officials on the terrace of a country club. Insurance and overtime, Johnny said to them. If you don't give it to us, right now, we're going to hold out for pay raises too. That sounds like blackmail to me, one of the men said. Call it what you like. If you want to strike like Talbot in Cleveland. This ain't your local here, Kovac. What does this have to do with you? I'm the president of the Midwest Council. They work for me. It's our company. They work for us. They do what the union tells them. If we agree to this contract, Kovac, how do we know you won't ask us for a pay raise next month? We live up to our agreements, Abe said. Johnny smiled. You play ball with me, I'm going to play ball with you. But what about the local here? How do we know they won't? Look, Johnny said, you worry about me. You get along with me, you got nothing to worry about. By winter, the warehouse had been completely rebuilt. Johnny's office was bare. There were 2 photographs on the wall. In one of them, he sat across a conference table from Winthrop Talbot. In the other, he and Graham and Matt Rafferty stood on stage, their arms linked. Atop a cabinet behind his desk was a tangle of wires attached to a small metal box with a red button on it. Grant's buzzer. How we doing? Johnny said. Vince Doyle smiled. We've got 146 business agents, 12 states of the Midwest. Business agents, Abe said. All those guys care about is their commissions. We've got almost 100% company sign-ups, Doyle said. Anybody give us trouble? One outfit, Johnny, Doyle said. In Chicago. Guy named Vasco runs it. Hard-headed hunky, he smiled. A hunky, huh? It figures. How come he won't sign? His guys don't want to join, he said. The guy's a nobody, Johnny, Abe said. He runs a small outfit. The hell with him. He'll join, Johnny said. He smiled. They'll all join. And that is the end of Chapter 13 of F.I.S.T. Thank you for listening to the Workers' Reading Room. Have a good evening.